Welcome back to another Pokemon What If Wednesday, where every Wednesday morning we go through last week's investing and collecting questions, where your guys' questions will actually be featured in the video and one person's question will help me make the thumbnail every single week. So please drop your questions down below for a chance to be in next week's video. And if I did comment to you saying great question, I might use this and I didn't, please drop that same question again and put repeat question and it will get moved to the top. And I'm not saying I'm some guru who just knows everything, but when I'm unsure, I always like to talk it out with a few people. It always helps me make my final decision. But before we get started, we do have to give a big thanks to our video sponsor real quick. This is one of our newer ones, and this is Metat TCG. I did all the research, and I found us the best possible website where you guys can sell or trade in your bulk for some amazing rare cards or cash. They've got magic cards, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's so easy to sell your cards. You just go to the Pokemon bulk submission, but they have all the info right here. It tells you exactly what to do in order, but you just got to put your info in, tell them how many cards you have. They do have to be near mint, and they do have to be English. And they even have a little video here showing exactly how you guys can ship your cards to them. It is super easy. They streamlined everything. So definitely check them out. I'll have all the links in the description. But all right, first question is from Matt the Rob Chase. Hey Beard, I've been watching patiently as the Surging Sparks Milotic and Crown Zenith Dialga have come down in price. Do you think now is a good time to snag those, or should I wait until later in the summer? As always, love the content. So let's check out those cards. We got the Milotic here. So the 1 year low is actually $83. Now last sold 99, 105, 95. That's for the Japanese. 99, 115. We got an 85 down there. So it's getting close to the 1 year low. Now when it's a pretty popular card like this, it could definitely go back up to like 150. You never know. But we are in the summer. Everything is kind of cooling off a little bit. I could see it probably getting back down to $80. I mean, we already got one sale there. But I mean, if you can get as close to that 1 year low, then that's, I mean, your safest bet for sure. And then we got the Origin Forum Dialga here from Crown Zenith. The thing about Crown Zenith cards, they always go up and down because they're pretty easy to pull. And if we check the 1 year low, it was $39. And I remember this card literally being a $30 card. I bought one for $29 one time on eBay. Got it on auction, but still, they got very, very cheap when the Scarlet and Violet era started and everything kind of cooled off. Now last sold 70, 62, 70, 70, 66, 62. But since both of the cards are technically kind of coming down in price right now, just keep watching them, and then as soon as they like completely level out or maybe go up a little bit, then, you know, try to find the best deal possible. So yeah, you should always try to ride the wave all the way down. But in my opinion, I would still be looking, because if you can find a super clean raw copy that has a really good PSA 10 potential, to me, that is worth, you know, buying a little early and overpaying a little bit. And then two, you got to think about it. People were buying this card at $156. So you're already doing much better than they did, and you're getting close to that all-time low. So I would definitely start looking now, and if you find something super, super clean, you might as well pick it up. And yes, Milotic could technically get down to $50 if the market completely cooled off, but you never know, it could bounce back up to $150. It's just so hard to tell. But I do love the card. And like I said, with the Crown Zenith cards, it's a little tougher because the pull rates are so easy. Next is from @Ben Smoking. Are you a fan of special delivery cards? Is Bidoof a long hold? You know what? I kind of am. I think they're pretty unique. So if you guys do not know about these cards, we got the Special Delivery Pikachu, Special Delivery Charizard, and the Special Delivery Bidoof. The Bidoof is definitely the rarest of the three. Raw, it's going for $280, and it has a really low pop in a 10. There's only 943 in a 10, and there's only 2,030 in a 9, 392 in an 8. Last sold raw, 270, 300, 275, 9 at 306, and the 10 is at $1,000. The other ones, especially the Charizard, there's a ton of these. There is 4,223 in a 10, 14,906 in a 9, 4,267 in an 8, 688 in a 7. But as you can see, it is still going up in price. This is a $256 card in December of 2024, and now it's selling for $602. We got a PSA 9 at 94, 35. We got raw at 70, 80, 90, 80, 83, 67. And we will check the other special delivery card, just the Pikachu. Pop on this is 1,306 in a 10 and 7,221 in a 9 and 2,625 in an 8. So definitely with the Bidoof here, you got the rarest one of the three. I feel like I would definitely hold on to that card. It is a pretty solid card. Maybe you can get it graded in a 10. Doesn't say that you got it graded, but 943 in a 10 is very solid. And you can just tell by the other pops for like the 9, 8, and 7, there is way less of these cards. Yeah, I really like when they just have a few cards like this because it makes it pretty easy to collect. You can get all 3 special delivery cards, and it's not that expensive unless you're buying them in 10s, but super cool cards. Next is from at Soul Food Mix. I traded my Paldea Evolved booster box at its peak for a Rock Ninja SIR at its 6-month low, and Ethan's Typhlosion IR. I know sealed for singles is usually not a good idea, but with the timing, it felt worth it. Are there cases where you would trade sealed for singles? Did I make the right choice? So I usually don't ever trade, sealed for singles. And Paldea Evolved just popped off in the last couple days because the Magikarp went crazy. Now that's sold 350, 340, 349, 350. And you got to think about Paldea Evolved. It's already a 2-year-old set. I want to say it came out in June 9th, 2023. I could be a little off on that, but the only way I ever trade sealed is if it's something that I have a lot of and it's something that I really, really want, like a card that I really need for my collection, or like a super low pop card or something, to where, it's not that big of a deal to me. But if that was your only Paldea Evolved, I'm not the biggest fan of that trade, sorry to say. But yeah, just try to always keep your sealed and buy the cards. And that's another reason too why I always say try to get multiples, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. It just sucks when you just have one booster box or like one ETB or something because, if you trade it or sell it, it's gone forever. Next is from Metat TCG. I noticed that the Chimecho from Pop Series 4 is super rare and almost non-existent online. I have one PSA 10. Should I hold or sell? Do you think it'll go up at all? Thanks, love the vids. So I don't think it's going to go super crazy. I just feel like there's not that many people collecting these cards. And the Pop Series cards is just, it's really tough to collect them all. So I don't know. Last sold 382, 630, 499. If you get a really good offer for it, honestly, I'd probably take it. Because if it does go up, it's just going to be super slow. But it literally said there's only 6 of them in a 10, 30 of them in a 9, and 8 of them in an 8. So, you could possibly trade it for something else or maybe some sealed product and might move a little bit quicker just because it's such, an obscure card. Next is from at TCG Serp. Do you think the PSA 10 Celebrations Charizard can reach over 500 during the 30th anniversary? So, it's possible. The pop is crazy high on it, though. There's 26,915 in a 10 and 14,046 in a 9. But, it is slowly going up. There was a $150 card in a PSA 10 in 2024 and just keeps slowly rising. That sold 198, 199, 258, 205, 160, 209. So prices are all over the place. I could maybe see it getting to 350, 400. 5 might be kind of tough. I'm still a big fan of these cards, but I really wish they would give us like an illustration rare version of this, same pose, but with a cool background. I think that would go crazy. Next is from Matt Jackal 474. Now that the end of the Scarlet and Violet era is close with the release of Black and White, do you have a sense of the cards that this era will be remembered for 5, 10, 20 years down the road? Additionally, alternatively, what card are your favorites from this era? So, when looking at all the cards, the card that actually started it all was the Greninja EX. This was the card that literally created the boom, which is kind of crazy to think about. This was a $70 to $100 card on release. Someone did a ton of buyouts, and it was a $200 card. They did more buyouts, and then it was like a $250 card. And then, because that went crazy, all the other big special illustration rares went crazy, like the Bubble Mew. But I would say the Bubble Mew is probably the mascot of the Scarlet and Violet era, if I had to say. And I know we have the Umbreon EX at $1,000, but in my opinion, I still feel like people prefer the Umbreon VMAX over the Umbreon EX. So I just feel like the Bubble Mew is like one of the cards that most people enjoy. And the Pikachu is pretty solid, but there's so many people that do not enjoy the Pikachu. And my favorite card on this page is definitely the Ho-Oh, probably followed by the Moltres, to be honest. I really like the Latias also. I just really like super clean, simple arts, where they're regular Pokemon. I'm not the biggest fan of the crowns. I do think the Umbreon with the crown looks pretty sweet. Sylveon also looks very good with the crown. Some of them look okay. But then we also have to talk about illustration rares because the Magikarp is for sure going to be one of the mascots of the Scarlet and Violet era, especially now that it's just going crazy in a PSA 10, which I would not pay those prices. The only thing that sucks is, it is kind of harder to grade, one of the hardest cards to grade in the Scarlet and Violet era. So I feel like that PSA 10 price is going to be there for a while. But yeah, so I'd have to say Magikarp and Bubble Mew. And then my favorite illustration rare still is probably the Groudon, followed by the Typhlosion. I keep picking these up at card shows and they sell like 10 minutes later, and I just want to keep every one. At $40-something, I'm probably going to be able to get it a little bit cheaper in the future. But let me know down below your guys' favorite cards from the Scarlet and Violet era. I would love to know. All Right, next we got Kyle of White 8812, a member. Favorite video of the week as always. Question: I made the now regretful decision of deciding to get all Japanese 151 Master Balls into PSA 10. I've gotten 118 and need 35 more, but I'm struggling more and more to find them and losing motivation. Should I sell or stay patient and try and finish it? I've got all the big ones, Pika, Gengar, etc. It's trainers and random commons I'm struggling to find. So yeah, that really sucks when you start a collection like that and you're just in so deep, it feels like you kind of have to finish it. And especially now that we're just getting more Master Balls and more Master Balls, it makes the 151s less special. So you do have a few options. You could literally just keep the top 5 Master Balls or your favorite ones, sell all the rest. You could obviously just finish it since the rest of the cards are pretty cheap, but just know if you ever try to sell this master set, it's going to be almost impossible to sell. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. It's going to be almost impossible to where you might have to, break them up. Or you could just skip all the trainers. You guys know I'm not the biggest fan of the trainers, and since you need a bunch of the trainers, you could just skip all the trainers and just do the Pokemon, and maybe you'll be really close to finishing that, because most people still prefer the Pokemon over the trainers anyways, especially with 151. They want all those 151 Pokemon, so that might be a solid option also. And what really sucks is they could technically keep coming down in price, but at least 151, is going up in price now on the Japanese side for sealed products. So there's a chance that some of these Master Balls could come back up in price a little bit. But if it were me and I were that close, I would probably just, get rid of the trainers I have and collect the rest of the Pokemon, because, you're already so far and that's kind of a cool little collection to have. But yeah, that's why you got to really, really think about the collections you want to do and start, because if you started in a year from now, you're not the biggest fan of it. You're going to be so annoyed you spent all that money and all that time researching and finding those cards for something you're not really the biggest fan of now, or just, tired of collecting because there's so many of them. I also think a solid option is sell the rest, keep your top 5 favorite cards, and, start a whole nother collection, because that would, give you a good chunk of money to get going on another collection to where maybe you could finish one right away, to where you could have your top 5 favorite Master Balls in a PSA 10 and finish a whole nother collection of something else. All right, next question is from Jerry Zard OSRS 8657. Hey Beard, back with a question. I'm currently collecting sealed, 1 English booster box of each set, plus 2 of the specially set ETBs, plus 1 UPC, and putting them all in display on a case. Do you think it's better to go for sealed cases of the better sets and sell the lesser sets in the future, or am I doing it right when it comes to investing? We'll still need some products to display. A brown box with tape just doesn't look good. Thanks for all the videos. Big fan of the channel. So this is actually the question that I mentioned earlier. So I'm not sure your budget and everything, but if you can, I strongly recommend getting 2 booster boxes of each set, 2 regular ETBs, and if you can, try to get 2 Pokemon Center ETBs. You will be so happy that you did this, because if you're just getting 1 booster box of each, especially if you're getting it for every set, it's kind of like a collection, and it's going to really bug you when you have to start selling some of these booster boxes and you only have 1, and you sell it and it's gone forever, and 5 years down the road after you sell it, it's worth double what you sold it for. So always try to get doubles. I personally like to get at least a minimum of 4 of each product if I possibly can. And the reason why I like to get at least 4 is you just have so many options. You could literally sell 1 of each product, which would make a nice little collection 5-10 years down the road. You could use that money to help for like a down payment on a house or whatever you're trying to do, help start your business. And then you still have 3 left over to where you could sell another 1 of each of all your sealed products 10-20 years down the road and use that to help, like, I don't know, retire, get a beach house, whatever you want to do. Not sure how much money it's going to be or how many products you have. And then you got 2 left over. You could pass them down to your kids. You just have a lot more options when you're getting multiples. And I personally like to get all the sets, especially in the Scarlet and Violet era where all those sets are pretty solid. But if you really look at all the sets, Obsidian Flames is definitely one of the worst sets in the Scarlet and Violet era. It really can't even be argued. I mean, it's just such a small set. I know some people like it because they pulled the Charizard, but that does not matter if we're just looking, at the actual set. And it's one of the most expensive booster boxes. It's a $240 booster box. No idea who's buying Obsidian Flames at $240. Probably some Charizard fans. And then also, if you do really, really enjoy a set or you think it's the best set, then you could definitely get a little extra of that set. But I like to get a little bit of everything just in case. You never really know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to get reprinted. Like Rebel Clash in the Sword and Shield era. One of the worst sets, if not the worst set in the entire era. One of the most expensive sets because it didn't get any reprints. But all right, next question is from @CSMotion01. Hey Beard, do you think investing in PSA 9 cards rather than 10s could be a viable investing strategy? So the only way a 9 is okay, I feel like, is for the higher end modern cards. But I do have a buddy. He hunts PSA 9 cards. He finds the best, cleanest PSA 9 cards he can find. Now, the last one he did, he sent in 45 PSA 9s, and he got back 15 PSA 10s. So that is very, very solid. So if you are going to do 9s, be picky with the 9s, you know, where you could have a chance of possibly regrading and getting a 10. So that would be the only way I would get a 9, because otherwise, if it's lower end modern 9s, most people would rather just have the raw card than a PSA 9. So that's the only way I would really ever pick up 9s. Next is from @NewCoda. How can you project if a card's value will go up or down? You honestly can't. There's just a few things you can look at. You know, how much the set was printed, how popular the set is, how popular the Pokemon is, and if it's like the best card of that Pokemon. So, you know, like Milotic, the new special illustration rare. That's definitely the best Milotic card we've ever had. We have one Trainer Gallery card, but the SIR is definitely the best card we've ever had. So like stuff like that, I kind of like, because if you are a Milotic fan, that's going to be your #1 chase card. So if it's, you know, of a Pokemon that's very popular and has a lot better cards, you know, that card's probably not going to do that good. But yeah, it is almost impossible to exactly project a card, especially cards always go up and down, and they always will. That's why investing into sealed products is so much safer than the cards, because every time a new box gets opened, you know, new cards come to the market, but there's less boxes on the market. So that's why cards always go up and down compared to sealed. Next is from @Squirtle Squad. How did you go about selling the Lugia for that much? So I knew someone locally from one of our card shops that was looking for one for the longest time. He knew I had it because, you know, I've been going to that card shop forever. And he hit me up and we worked out a deal and we got it done. That's another thing too, a lot of people don't think about. There are so many sales that just nobody knows about because it wasn't online or anything like that, and they just did it locally in person. I know for a fact that happens all the time because I've seen it thousands of times. Next is from @FJFJFJRJ4544. I have 11 151 Zapdos boxes and 14 151 Poster Collection boxes, and due to storage space, I'm thinking of either selling or trading them to get some Scarlet and Violet booster boxes. Also, I have other 151 products such as 40 booster bundles and 14 Costco tin boxes, so another reason why I think this might not be a bad idea. I would definitely trade off a couple to get some booster boxes, especially if you do not have a lot of booster boxes in your collection. Definitely get some of those. It's good to have the variety, and they take up way less space and usually do a lot better than collection boxes. So don't get rid of them all, but you could definitely get rid of some and just have better variety. You should also try to get some Pokemon Center ETBs for sure. Next is from @ZDreamKillers1559. How would you go about buying raw cards, TCG Player, eBay, in person? Looking to buy raw cards and submit for grading, is that a big risk? So it's getting tougher and tougher because so many people grade and everybody's making grading easy. I mean, you can literally go drop your cards off at GameStop now, which I don't recommend yet. They definitely need to work on that a little bit and get people a little bit better trained. And I'm going to actually do a how-to video on this exactly, so I'm just going to be quick here. I would definitely stay away from TCG Player. eBay is probably your best bet online, and you can always ask for more pictures. Just know if it's a super cheap card and you're asking them for pictures, most of them will ignore you because it's just not really worth their time. And I mean, I get it. If they're super busy and someone's asking for more pictures of a $3 card when you already have 4 pictures up, it does get a little annoying. But eBay is your best bet. And like I said, ask for more pictures if it's a little bit more expensive card. And if you're buying in person, it's kind of tough. So if you buy a collection on Facebook Marketplace, and if you look at everything else they've sold and they haven't sold a bunch of graded cards and they're just selling their collection, that's a good sign because, you know, you have a good chance they haven't graded anything and you just buy the whole collection and look through it. But when we're talking about like a card show, it's getting tougher and tougher because almost every single vendor grades. And it's kind of funny. You'll see all these people come up asking to see this card and they're like, no, I'm good. You know, they're looking for a PSA 10 clean copy when most of the time the vendors are going to get those cards graded anyways. So it's definitely getting tougher to find 10s at a show. One thing that works pretty decent at card shows is if you see someone just buy a big collection and they haven't like looked through everything exactly, and just you could ask, can I look through that, see if there's anything I'm interested in? And you might be able to look through there and really find something clean before the actual vendor has time to do that because, you know, vendors are really busy. So I scored quite a few nice cards doing that for sure. But like I said, I'm going to do a full in-depth video on this very, very soon. If you guys do not know, I started a new how-to series. The first one we did was how to start collecting, so please go check that video out. I'm going to make a playlist also with all of these so you guys can find the videos super easily. Next is from @Yadin222. Will amazing rares go up in value in the future? I can see them getting big. So I don't think they'll get super big. They're really easy to pull, but they could definitely, you know, double or triple in price. And they are so cheap that you might as well pick up a set because they're very, very affordable. And they are beautiful. If you guys have not seen an amazing rare in person, I definitely recommend it. They are very, very nice. But like I said, they're just so common to where they can never really get that expensive. All right, next is from the T Pips, a member. Next What If Wednesday, can I have your phone case? Don't need your phone. Thank you. That is hilarious. If you guys did not know, I just got a new sponsor called Showcase Cards, and I am rocking the first edition Neo Genesis Holo Lugia in the back of my phone. So if you guys are interested in getting one of these phone cases, I'll have the links in the description. And then I got a discount code and everything like that. So definitely check that out. But no, you cannot have this specific phone case with the Lugia. Next is from @Broden116. Do you think we will start seeing full gen sets like 151 and black and white every other year or annually now? But goes in the rhythm of 1 and 5, 2 and 6, 3 and 7, 4 and 8. That way, by the time they are done, we should be on like Gen 11 possibly. Great video as always. That would be super, super cool. I would love a Gen 2, set like that. I would go absolutely crazy for sure. But I'm all for it. I really like when they do this because especially if you're a really big fan of one specific, generation, I mean, you're in heaven. All right, next is from @Tim7592. Hey, Beard, hope this is the right place to leave this. I've been getting simplified Chinese to open with the kiddos lately because the booster boxes are easier to get at the moment. In fact, we just opened a Gem Pack 2 last night and pulled the Umbreon illustration rare. Do you see the Chinese cards becoming a viable market? TCG Player doesn't seem to track them, but the IR and SIRs are amazing. Trying to get an idea how deep to go down this rabbit hole. Thanks and keep up the good work. So I've also kind of wanted to get into these Chinese cards. It really depends on how much they printed and everything, but I think they're doing a super good job. And I have a feeling they're not going to print that much because they're trying to catch up right now because they're actually behind us. Like they're doing 151 right now. And they're doing a ton of their own things. And if you look at how many Chinese exclusive cards there isn't that many yet to where, if you did start collecting, you're not going to be that far behind to where you could catch up. But some of them are definitely a little overpriced in my opinion. But like I said, it all depends on reprints. If they reprint these boxes for the next couple years, the cards will definitely come down in price. But if they move on and they go to all these new sets because they're trying to catch up, the prices should hold pretty strong. And most of the people in Pokemon, they say they only care about the art. They don't care about the language. That's why they collect Japanese. So there should be no reason why, these beautiful Chinese cards do not have, a decent spot in the market. But I'm with you. I'm definitely going to get some of the Gem Pack 2 boxes. I'd love to get those illustration rares or art rares. And then, same with the 151 sets, except those art rares are like $500. All right, last question is from @MimicUT. Which sleeve boosters do you have in your display behind you? I recently picked up one of those displays and I'm wondering if I should add some sought after sets or just the sleeves with the best art. So I might as well just show you. Give me a second. So yeah, I definitely recommend getting some variety on there, some older sets. I think it looks super cool. I love these displays, and if I'm ever bored and if I ever want to rip anything, as you guys know I don't rip that much, I'll just grab a sleeve booster from the display. To me, that is the perfect amount. Just grab a random sleeve booster, you take that gamble. If you get nothing, not a big deal, it's just one sleeve booster. But if you get something, it feels awesome because it was just one sleeve booster. And I know some people cannot help themselves. If they got something like that, they're going to be opening every single pack. But in my opinion, if you collect the cards first, it helps a ton with not opening these sets up. Because if you own every card, you're not going to feel obligated to open the set. So yeah, I definitely feel like you should get some variety, a couple older packs, especially if you can ever afford like a team up ETB or, booster box. You can pick up a couple sleeve boosters. They're not that expensive. But yeah, I love those a ton. And I really like it too because I don't open that much, but if I ever do, I'll just grab a random sleeve booster off the display because if you don't get anything, not a big deal. It was just one sleeve booster. But if you do get something, it's super awesome because it was just one sleeve booster. So yeah, I'm a fan for sure. And when I get like more sleeve boosters from like lots and stuff, I'll fill it up. And once it gets full, I'll empty some of them and pack them in the tote. I just switch it up every once in a while. But all right, that was today's Pokemon What If Wednesday. If you guys do like this content, please make sure you subscribe.